for a great length of time. But when I came here to Minnesota, he was one of the coaches who I knew of before coming here. He had a name, he had a brand in this league. He was a recognizable coach, and as I got here and got to know everybody, I would often ask people, what do you think of this coach or that coach? Because the players know. At the end of the day, the players know who can coach and who can't. And it was always a resounding, statement of support for Coach Sperano. The players loved him. They played hard for him. They enjoyed the meetings. They enjoyed his demeanor. And we felt like he, at the end of the day, understood what it's like to play in this league, could empathize with us and some of the challenges we go through. And for that, the players loved him. And so it was very tough to hear the news a few days ago of his passing. And obviously we want to approach this season and this camp with a work ethic and an attention to detail that would honor him and to hopefully put a great product on the field that would reflect well on him and his family. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
What are you? Between the last time we saw you and now, what did you digest? What was that like?
If you're asking how the summer was overall, it was a great 5 or 6 weeks. As we talked about standing right here a month and a half ago about getting rest, but also staying sharp. Felt like I did everything I wanted to do, and I'm in a good place now and ready to go. And it's good to see everybody again and get the vets here tomorrow. Will be fun, and just ready to get to work.
How do you quarterback into an offensive line? How do you inject yourself? And how do you such an important relationship with that? But what does Kirk Cousins do to get on the same page in the offensive line, particularly the receivers?
Well, obviously, we got to know the system inside and out. So I've got to do my due diligence and studying and asking questions. And then once I feel like I have a good understanding is to just take ownership, tell the center specifically what I'm looking for on every play, what I need from him and what I want to control myself, and communicate well with the O-line coach, whoever that is, and just be on the same page. And that takes time, but I think we're in a good place. I think there's good communication, and there's not a lot of egos. Egos can get in the way of being able to get on the same page and have progress. And so when there's humility and people are willing to listen and defer to one another, I think that can really help.
Kirk,
what are you more confident in? Right?
Go ahead.
What are you more confident in now than when you came in March? You think about?
I do think I have a greater comfort level with the system. I think I'm not thinking as much as I'm able to just react and play. The terminology is starting to become my first language as opposed to my second language. I don't find myself reverting back to how we used to call things in the past at other places I was at. And I've gotten to know teammates so much better. I know who they are as people, their personalities, what they do well as players. And again, with so much left to go in the preseason, that will only improve. But I do think I've come a long ways in those areas.
Kirk, when you were in Washington, did you report early like you did now, or did everyone report at the same time in those camps?
We always showed up Tuesday night every year, and whatever that was in July, and then Wednesday we started. And so that was what I was used to, and so this is no different. Get here Tuesday evening, and then hit the field Wednesday and get going. So that's kind of always been my rhythm, and it didn't feel any different this year to do that.
I mean, was it optional? You could have shown up Friday. I know last year they had a rookie camp.
Yeah.
I know Bradford wasn't here. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's optional or whatever, but did you want to regardless, or how did that factor into you reporting Tuesday versus Friday?
I don't know what's optional and what's not optional. I know that I got to be ready to go come week one, and being that it's a new system, I can't afford to miss out on opportunities, and this is my job, and I'm going to treat it as such and take advantage of every opportunity I can get to be ready to go.
Coach Phil was talking about, he feels if there's ever a quarterback battle, you don't have one. And how important it was to tell you, you're the guy, these are the keys to your kingdom. Does that obviously helps with your confidence, but with building those relationships, does that kind of give you the key to just kind of go forth that way early?
I think the key, I think internal competition is healthy. Certainly can bring out the best in you, but to an extent, at some point, you have to be given a license to lead, and you have to be given permission to take charge. And when you're still having internal competition, it's hard to do that. And so I've been in those situations in the past, going back to college, where I didn't know if I would start, and so it was hard to really assert my personality in the locker room because I didn't want to step on the toes of the other people. And so that's something that I think when you know your role and it's been defined, you can then lead from a place of greater comfort and from that platform. And I think that helps the overall dynamic.
Are there certain ways now that you can notice that taking place in the locker room?
It can be something as simple as when practice is up, getting the call, talking to the guys, sharing a thought. When you're the starting quarterback, there's not a question in people's mind of if you should be doing that. When you're the backup, people may look at you and they understand those locker room dynamics, like, why is he talking, So there's little things like that, all the way to in a meeting saying, I don't like the way that route is drawn, I want it changed. And if you're the backup, usually you just sit back and let the route be drawn the way it should be drawn. But if you're the starter, you can speak your mind. So you got to have permission to do that, and I think that's what Coach Flip is getting at.
We talked last time about you drinking from a fire hose. You get a chance to kind of go back and revisit things in the offseason. Where does that kind of show up in terms of having a better understanding of the offense on a more detailed level at this point?
Well, I think just when we break the huddle in these walkthroughs and I'm at the line of scrimmage with making the calls with the center, it's now instinctive. It's not thinking if am I making the right call? Do I know where the line's going? I feel like I'm able to just go play. And we have a new center out here the last couple of days, JP, and he's got his head spinning with all the calls. And I said, how does it feel to drink through a fire hose, man? I was there a few months ago. So, we all have to go through that at different times in our football careers, and you understand it now this far along in my journey. But it's a process. And by no means do I feel like I'm there and it's done, but I'm certainly further along than I was in April.
Was spring so effective that maybe you're ahead at this point than maybe you thought you might be or something? Or?
That's a good question. I think some of it comes down to how much carryover is there to what I've already done in the past. And we're still in the process of finding our identity for 2018. What do I do well? What does Coach Flip do well? What do our receivers do well? And that's what camp is all about. And so I don't like to have final answers or to say, here's where we are, because that's not really what camp is for. Camp is for developing that, and then obviously come game time, that's when we get measured and have to be ready to go.
How much time did you spend, I saw you tweeted you were reading a golf book the other day, but how much time did you spend reading the playbook during this break between mini camp and training camp?
And I don't know how to put a number on it, but you're spending time, and it's not just the mental side, but it's the physical side. Keeping your arm in shape, throwing all the time, working on your body, and making sure that you're going to be ready to go for a long 16-game season, and hopefully more than that. So there was a lot of time spent on a daily basis of getting your whole self ready to go, and from every facet.
How long did it take you before you felt like you could really assert yourself, teammates and coaches?
Yeah. Well, I think that was my question coming in is how long do I sit back and watch and listen and learn before I then start to act like a starting quarterback? And what I was trying to communicate in the spring was I was surprised by how much my teammates gave me that license to lead quickly. I thought they were going to want to have me prove myself a little bit longer than maybe I had to. They were very supportive and said, no, man, it's your show, let's go. So when I say I was welcomed by the team, I was accepted, I was given permission to lead, that's where it didn't take as long as maybe I thought it would have. So that's been, I think that was a pleasant surprise.
Is part of that just when you sign a big contract like that? It leaves no doubt. There's lots of ramifications about numbers, but it leaves no doubt that they could have started. Does that help in that way?
It certainly gives an indication, but the amount of money you make doesn't give people a desire to suddenly follow you. And if I've played on a team where I made league minimum and was the starting quarterback too, and you better believe that I got to command and have a presence about me that guys want to follow regardless of what my contract says. So if you're a fake, your contract's not going to help you. You got to be the real deal no matter what.
Good mini camp with Delvin and now a couple days out here. What stands out about his skill set and what he can bring to the offense?
I think because he's still coming back, I haven't been able to see the Dalvin Cook that everyone who has been here knows, and that's what I'm excited to see as we get going. He is ready to go and full bore, but obviously we're still easing into it, and I've been told, by the guys who have been here that he has some elite movement skills and he can really make a difference. And when you're talking about a starting running back, running the ball, catching the ball in the backfield, protecting, that makes a big difference.
Have any impressions on Jake Weineke, receiver, who's a local guy from around here?
Well, I heard that he in college had 50 or 60 touchdowns at SDSU, and that alone says he's got to be a red zone threat. He's got some ability. I think the strength for him is going to be using his body, having a good feel for how to play the receiver position, and catching everything that's thrown his way. And obviously, things like special teams play a big role into making the team and being able to have staying power. So those are all things that I don't pay as much attention to, but I think he's got a lot of ability, and I love the way he carries himself. He's a great teammate, great person, and I think a really good example of our scouting staff bringing in talented players who could be great locker room guys and have a great impact in camp.
Kirk, you've talked before about wanting to build chemistry with your teammates and stuff, and then we kind of saw you and Stefan and Adam kind of banter back and forth on social media, and that's fun, but in all seriousness, how important is that chemistry that you've been able to build with them off the field and that friendship?
Yeah, the nature of, I think it was Steph or Adam who had originally posted on social media how they couldn't wait to get back and see everybody. I think that was genuine. They're not doing that to be self-promotional. They really do enjoy working. Adam texted me as I was coming into town on Tuesday and said, "Hey, can you get in early so we can throw?" And I said, my arrival time's not going to give me any time to do that. But he wants to work. On off days, he's trying to find ways to get out here. And I said, "I don't even know what the rules are about you coming here and catching before Friday." And he said, I think we can. I'll find a way. So those guys are just easy to work with. And I said it again in May and June. They're easy to lead because they're so excited about football and they love playing this game. And there are people in this league who love what football brings them, but they don't really love football. We got a lot of guys in this team who love football, regardless of what it brings them, and that's obviously fun to work with and play with.
Time for a couple more.
I just add that excited for training camp here at the new facility. Obviously, it's outstanding, world class, and good to see the stands out here. And excited on Saturday to get the crowds here. And I kind of wish I could go over to that stadium and go through all the activities that they have for the kids. So it looks like a great setup for training camp. All right, thank you.